took a sip of his coffee. The mocha-colored liquid burned his tongue, but as it went down his throat, it seemed like it melted away all the tension he felt. Like all the world's troubles were far away. For this moment, there was only bliss of sweet caffeine. While the flavor triggered one of the few sources of dopamine that were findable in this day and age, the temperature of the coffee physically warmed his body as well. Out the window to his right, he could see snow falling in the darkness, illuminated slightly by the street light at the edge of the parking lot. One would almost call it peaceful. He did not find it peaceful. He would have under different circumstances, but at the present, it was more than a mere inconvenience. It was miserable and deadly. He wondered how long he would linger here before the owner tired of his presence. It was only a matter of time. A stone could only stay still for so long before moss began to grow. This one was lucky if he even got the luxury of a full night's sleep. He glanced over to the bar on the other side of the restaurant, the bags under his eyes telling a story not many could read deeply enough into, not that they'd want to if they knew what the story was about. The waitress had just rounded the corner bearing a tray full of food. He knew it was his order. There was no one else here to serve food to.
One double Bucks burger with bacon, cheese, and extra sauce, and a large order of fries.
The woman said as she placed a large plate on the table in front of him. He looked at the food with mixed emotions. Any health expert would say that the order was not a healthy one, and not a very good meal to have when a lot of physical exertion was required in the near future. Watching the diet of a professional athlete, for example, their diet was always made from the healthiest ingredients, often prepared by a private chef. This greasy burger that made his arteries harden just looking at it was a far cry from those standards. But then again, when one realizes the odds of dying any minute now, not only was it sort of thing a comfort food, but possibly a last meal as well. It was important to enjoy such things in life. Worry about the future, yes, but the present is what existence is. The future is not guaranteed. He thanked the waitress and took a bite of his burger. Just like the coffee, the morsel brought a level of comfort to his weary soul. If this was to be his last meal, it was sure a good one. He had no regrets. He finished his meal and sat back against the booth seat, satisfied. He caught movement in the corner of his eye. Startled, his gaze shut out the window. It was just the snow, he rationalized. There was constantly movement out there. He uneasily took another sip of coffee. Then he saw it. It was only for the briefest of moments. It happened so fast he wasn't even sure if it was real or if he had imagined it. After all, as tense as he was on a regular basis and his lack of sleep, his brain was only likely to imagine horrors every once in a while. It happened to everybody under way better circumstances than his own. In fact, he would be more surprised if it didn't happen. That's all it was, right? Could he afford to take that risk, though?
Would you like a refill, sir?
The waitress asked, making him jump and breaking him from his trance. Yes. Actually, could I get that to go as well?
You don't plan on leaving in that, do you?
The waitress regarded him as if she thought he were insane, not knowing how right she was.
Are you okay? You seem kind of...
I'm okay. I just remembered an important appointment that I must keep.
Going out there would be suicide right now. Surely they would understand. But if you insist, I'll get this right out for you with a check.
She turned away, and he immediately turned back to the window, furiously searching the limited landscape for anything, any sign, any warning. He saw nothing. Nothing but snow falling upon the few vehicles in the parking lot and the empty street, sparkling under the pale light it tried to obscure. But then he noticed something in the snow. It was so faint that he had to look hard to make sure, but it was there. The slightest track in the snow. Long dragging strides that were almost hidden by fresh flakes. No one had entered or left the diner since he'd gotten there. Those were recent enough that they couldn't belong here. His heart began pounding as adrenaline rushed through his veins. He had to leave. He frantically fished money out of his wallet. The waitress returned with a takeout coffee and a check. He accepted the coffee and left 2 20s on the table as he rushed past her. If she said anything, he didn't hear it. He had to get to that door. Suddenly the lights went out. The diner was shrouded in darkness. It was too late. If he left now, the employees would be killed. They didn't deserve that.
What happened to the power?
The waitress asked.
I'm not sure,
Called a voice from behind the kitchen door.
probably the storm. I'll check the breaker real quick, but we may be forced to close early tonight.
No! He shouted, making the waitress jump. The owner came through the kitchen door with a flashlight in his hand.
What?
No, he stated firmly. I promise you the power has nothing to do with the breakers or the storm. At best, it's a trap to lure you over there. You're better off just leaving right now.
A trap? Who?
He got the cook off again. There isn't time to explain. You both need to leave now while you still can.
What do you think is going on?
The waitress asked him. There isn't. Before he could finish, the kitchen door burst open. The cook spun around to shine the flashlight on the door. All eyes were locked in alarm as it swung back and forth, seemingly without a source. He looked frantically around the dining room. He had to find it quickly, his eyes strained against the darkness, occasionally being assisted by the flashlight as the cook did the same. A rattling sound to the left caught their attention. The flashlight and 3 sets of eyes, all focused on a table at the edge of the room, still rattling as if something had moved it. Another sound behind them, but once again they moved too late to see it. Something leaped out of the shadows, pouncing for the cook. The waitress screamed. He grabbed a mug that had not yet been collected for the night and threw it, catching the creature in the shoulder before it reached its target. There was a grunt of surprise, and it melted into the darkness once again.
What the fuck was that?
The cook demanded. I don't know, he admitted, but I do know that we should really leave. It will attack again soon. Before anyone could respond, the creature emerged from the shadows once again, this time with him as its target. He dodged and it sailed over him, landing on the floor. The waitress screamed again, and she and the cook ducked behind the bar. It spun around on the floor, pouncing again for him in an instant. He dodged again, but this time was less lucky. The claws caught his side, tearing at the flesh and knocking him to the ground. He let out a cry as he hit the floor. Before he could recover, the creature was on top of him. Blow after blow it gave, and all he could do was block every attack.
Here, use this!
A knife slid across the floor towards him. He managed to grab it and plunge it into the beast's torso, wounding it and forcing it off of him with a horrible shriek. He got to his feet, limbs trembling from both the adrenaline and the exertion. Once again, the creature was nowhere to be seen. Another attack came from behind. He managed to dodge it this time, but one of its appendages clipped the coffee cup he had set in the bar, knocking it to the ground. Time seemed to slow down as his eyes followed the cup's descent. He felt a wave of despair. The cardboard hit the tile, the impact causing the flimsy plastic lid to bounce off its rim. The cup itself bounced, gaining an inch of ground or so. This rocketed the lid away, and the contents erupted out of the container like a geyser. Sweet, creamy, wonderful brown liquid almost appeared fountain-like as it followed gravity and landed on the floor with the cup in the lid. A delicious puddle formed on the floor, never to be drunk, its purpose in life diminished. His eyes closed momentarily as his heart pounded with another emotion. Gone was the terror that had gripped him before. What replaced it was rage. It burned in his veins like magma and grew in intensity until it seemed he might erupt like the coffee he had in its final 2 seconds. And it did. He spun around to face the monster. It was already preparing its next attack. He walked towards it with determination, bloody knife gripped tightly in his hand. As it pounced for him yet again, he brought the knife up and stabbed into its eye. The creature fell to the ground, and this time he pounced for it. He landed on its back and stabbed it over and over and over again. Fresh blood joining the coffee on the floor inches away. It shrieked and writhed until it no longer could. Its body ignited and burned away as if made of paper. He got to his feet. The cook and the waitress peeked above the bar in horror and awe. They had seen him snap, but they were alive. You might as well get out of here and go home, like I said before, he told them as he headed out the door, in case there's more of them. He didn't give them a chance to reply. He left the diner and got into his car, taking off into the frigid night.